We've been seeing a lot of questions on how to find accommodations and short-term rentals without using those big name websites. As slow travelers, Chris and I often look for places to stay for a month or longer. We've traveled through North America, South America, Europe, Asia, and Australia, and these are some of the methods that we've used to find places to stay. Finding a great place to stay can take some time, and if you don't want to use those big name websites, it can take even longer. There is a reason these sites like Booking.com and Airbnb exist. Finding accommodations can take a lot of work, and these sites offer convenience, but for a price. We do use these sites, but we also have other ways of finding places to stay too.
If we're staying somewhere for about a month, then we want a place with a nice kitchen, a cozy living room, and a separate bedroom. But if we're only there for a few days, it can be something much smaller.
Whenever we're planning out a new place to stay, I reach out to friends who have some connections to that area to see if they have any advice. And we have ended up with some fantastic experiences as a result of that. For example, last year when I was planning our trip to Mexico City, I reached out to some friends that did some work in the area. It turns out they had just purchased an apartment there and they were renting it out when they weren't using it. Timing worked out perfectly, and we were able to stay for a month in their beautiful apartment in a fantastic part of the city for the friends and family rate.
But sometimes our friends help us out in unexpected ways.
A few years ago, I was planning a trip to Taiwan. I wanted to visit the middle of the country in a place that's pretty difficult for foreigners to book. So I reached out to a coworker who's from Taiwan about how I could make the booking, and he just offered to do it for me. Not only did he take care of the booking for us, but he also wrote us a letter, written in Mandarin, that I could show to the people when we arrived in the town so they would know what accommodations and what food we had booked. Because of him, we had a fantastic experience. Before visiting a new place, I read blogs, I watch YouTube videos, and I join Facebook and WhatsApp groups to try and figure out what's available for rent and what neighborhood I want to stay in. Using these groups, I find both individuals and professional realtors renting out furnished apartments. We've talked to people who have rented places by looking at Facebook and WhatsApp groups, but it can be pretty time-consuming. Usually what they do is they stay in an Airbnb for their first couple of weeks in the city, and then while they're there, they start meeting people and looking at other places. But it's pretty time-consuming. Since we're only in a city for about a month, we don't want to spend all of our time doing it that way. And there can also be some scams. Like, for example, you meet with a realtor, you put down a security deposit, and then you find out the place doesn't exist. Or they charge you extra when you go to stay there. Even if you're working with a legit professional realtor, you might still have to sign a 6-month lease, put down a security deposit, pay first and last month's rent, and show proof of residency. None of which we're willing or able to do.
Another way we try finding accommodations is by looking for alternatives to standard apartment rentals.
A couple of years ago, I used the website Workaway to find Chris and I a house-sitting opportunity. We were able to stay in a beautiful apartment for free in exchange for taking care of a cat and a few maintenance tasks. But before we agreed to the sit, there were 4 major things that we did to try and help increase our chances of a successful sit. The first thing we did was we had several conversations with the host to make sure that our expectations were aligned. Then I also read lots of reviews of previous workawayers who had spent time there. The third thing I did was I made sure we had a backup plan. I've heard of hosts, even well-meaning ones, that cancel on their sitters last minute or cancel mid-sit because something came up. Or sometimes the sit just isn't what we expected. And so we always make sure we have a backup plan. And the fourth thing I do is I check the legality of house sitting in the country that we're going to. And that's because not all countries let you house sit on a tourist visa. They view what you're doing as work. And that's because you're getting accommodation in exchange for services offered. If we're going somewhere for a couple of weeks or less, we also look at staying at a hostel. Hostels can conjure up images of people partying all night. Nothing wrong with that, but it's not what we're going for. Here are a few tricks we use to get a hostel that's a little more us.
First, we look for hostels with private rooms, and if we can, private bathrooms. That gives us our own space.
Then we look for ones with big kitchens and living spaces so that we can really spread out and meet new people. I really like the ones with the colorful furniture.
And to help us avoid staying in loud party hostels, we read through Google reviews before booking.
To make the booking, we communicate directly with the hostel on WhatsApp. Or if it's last minute, we just walk in and ask if they have a room. By booking directly with the hostel, we usually get a discount. And if we pay cash, we will often get an even bigger discount. Along similar lines to hostels are digital nomad co-living spaces. I see lots of these advertised on my Facebook groups. The idea here is that a group of nomads get together to rent a house or a complex with shared living spaces. Chris and I haven't tried that yet, but it looks like a cool idea, if you can find the right people.
On a completely different angle from hostels are corporate housing and large suites in hotels. Corporate housing is quite common in the US, but suite hotels can be found all around the world.
Chris and I have stayed in corporate housing in the past. A big name brand in the US is called Oakwood. Oakwood usually has events where you can get together and meet other guests, and their suites come with everything you need for a comfortable stay. But they definitely feel, well, corporate-y. The other thing is that they can be quite expensive. We would probably never stay in one unless our bill was being footed by a company we were doing work for. And a quick note about those big booking sites. When we do stay at Airbnbs, we look for places that'll give us discounts when we stay longer term. We've gotten discounts of up to 50%. Sometimes these rates are shown right on the booking, and other times we get a discount by contacting the host and letting them know we're looking to stay a while. There are lots of different ways we find accommodations when we're traveling. There is no one trick that works for everything, and we have to remain flexible depending on where we're going. And that's our video for today. We will see you in the next one.